Welcome to Crime in Court. My name is Heather, and this is another episode in the tragic death of Sandra Birchmore series that I have that I'm doing right now. We have still a few episodes left. I realize I'm not getting these out as fast as I would like to, but you know, I still try to get out at least one a week, so hopefully that's enough. All right, so Sandra Birchmore, as we've learned from previous episodes that I've covered, she was a young girl who was put in the Youth Explorers program. Which is a program that's through the police department where young children can kind of get a taste of what law enforcement's like. And Sandra Birchmore was always enamored with law enforcement and wanted to be an officer of the law. So she joined this Explorers program at the age of 13. The person that we're going to be talking about today is Robert Devine. He was the person in charge of the Explorers program. So he ran it. He ran it all. And so he met Sandra Birchmore when she was 13 and he was in his mid 30s. He also brought in another thing that I forgot to mention was that he also brought in William and Matthew Farwell, the twin brothers, who also were allegedly involved in inappropriate relations with Sandra. And definitely William's, it's not as clear when their relationship started, but for Matthew, we believe or we know that it started when she was underage because of the internal investigation that took place. We read through all of the internal investigation reports, so now we know what came out from that. And Chief McNamara gave us a great update regarding that in her press conference regarding the investigation. So let's begin with today's episode. I wanted to go back over. Um, who Robert Devine is very briefly. We've gone through this, his little bio before, but I want to just go through that again. And then we're going to talk more in depth about Robert Devine, his role, his going-ons that he had even before Sandra. So it's questionable as to why he was in charge of a program uh, with young kids, but anyways, let's move on from there. So Robert Devine, he was in charge of the Explorers program, like I said. He was a Stoughton police officer since 1999. He became a patrolman, a patrolman. I skip syllables all the time. He became a patrolman. He served as a school resource officer, a sergeant, a lieutenant, and an executive officer. So, in his career as a Stoughton police officer, he joined in 1999. In 2001 to 2004, he served as the school resource officer. 2002, he was ordered to run the Explorers program by the former chief. In 2004 to 2006, he served as sergeant, and then in 2006 became lieutenant. In 2008, became executive director. In 2011, Devine received an award for his working in investigating corruption within his own department. Well, isn't that interesting that he can investigate corruption when he is actually one of the corrupt cops, or he was a corrupt cop. Now he's holding on for dear life to try to hold his certification, but I believe he is not certified or decertified. I'm not sure, but he is going through the post commission hearing process, so that's why I think he's probably it's almost like his certification is paused until an answer is made, which I think is like you can either be certified, decertified, so that's when they take your certification away and you can never be a cop again, or you can be not certified, from my understanding. And that means like you might be under disciplinary action, you might be maybe on leave to go to to go to the military, go overseas and fight for our country, or what, if they're deployed, whatever it might be. There is that not certified, and there's a reason you could maybe be certified again, but chances are likely not. So I'm not sure what his certification is right now. I want to say he's not certified. I know I saw that for one of the Farwell brothers, but I can't remember what Farwell was. Anyways, regardless, he's not a cop right now. So it might even say here. Hold on. Does it say when he was decertified? No, maybe we'll get to it. Okay. So anyways, he gets some awards. The deputy, or the chief, I'm sorry, the chief Shastani was at an FBI training in early 2012. Devine served as the acting chief for 2 months while he was in that training. Devine was then appointed to deputy police in May of 2013. The program of the Stoughton Explorers program is the first uh, that the program is what first introduced Birchmore to the officers. Sorry, in it's just, the program. This is just one of many, and we're going to get into that in another episode on how much of a national crisis it is that these young explorers programs are run by pedos, for lack of a better term. So, there's some research that we're going to do in that and look into that more specifically in another episode, because I found some stuff that was interesting there. That really goes back to the Boy Scouts of America decades ago, when this whole thing was created, or people wanted this youth program back then. All right. So Robert C. Devine, 51, then a deputy chief in Stoughton, led the department's youth program since early 2000. The Stoughton Police Officer, or the Stoughton Police Explorers program is what it was called. All right, so in 2010, Robert Devine brought in former explorers Matthew Farwell and his twin brother William as guest instructors. So they were in the program prior to this. And Robert Devine knew them and knew of them from being in the program before, and said, "Hey, why don't you guys come on as guest instructors?" So Matt and Billy Farwell come on, and they become part of this explorers program indefinitely. So Matt and Billy, they're twin brothers. They went to Stoughton High School together, and they also went through the program, the Explorers program, 12 years prior to entering, or to teaching it. So both brothers were in their mid 20s and would go on to become Stoughton officers. Again, they're in their mid 20s. Sandra's 13 years old, and we've looked at pictures of her when she was 13. When she was 13, she looked like she was 9. She's a very young looking girl. She's petite, small, young looking, young looking for her age. She doesn't even look like her age. So it makes it even grosser. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, so it was the same year Sandra Birchmore tried to join Youth Explorers program in 2010 when she was 13, but she was put on standby list. So we've talked about that before. She was put on standby, but then the next year she became an explorer, and that is when all of the grooming, I believe, took place. So what else happened with Robert Devine that makes his career noteworthy? Well, he had an extramarital affair with this woman named Tiffany Overstreet. So Robert Devine is married to Lisa. So Lisa and Robert Devine, married, lovely couple, whatever. Little does she know what her husband's doing behind her back. 2013, Devine began to have an affair with Tiffany Overstreet. March 10, 2014, Deputy Police Chief Robert Devine is reading at the Stoughton Library. Oh, that's a clip. You can actually see him reading like kids' books if you want to. It's like a clip of a bunch of officers reading books to kids at a library. It's really not that exciting. All right, so October of 2014 obtained uh, who obtained? They obtained restraining orders. Lisa and Robert obtained restraining orders against Overstreet when Robert claimed that he and his wife, who is also a cop in a different town, what? This is all cop related, were receiving threatening messages from Overstreet. Allegedly, Overstreet sent flowers to his wife November of 2014, and Overstreet also sent nude pictures of her and Devine to all of his coworkers and their spouses. How would you like that? This is almost like a fatal attraction type situation. Like you cheat on your wife and then she stalks you, kills your daughter's bunny, and tells you she can't live without you. All right, you make your own bed, you lie in it. All right, December 18, 2014, Easton police raided Overstreet's home in Easton in order to seize her computers to prove that she was the one sending the nude pictures. Overstreet was taken into custody by state police and charged with 3 counts of violating harassment prevention orders, and that was filed against her by Devine and his wife, and was released. She was later released on her personal recognizance. The case was transferred to Dedham. 5 days after her arrest, Overstreet reported a break-in in her Easton apartment. When Easton police responded, they found no sign of forced entry, according to police, but her apartment was in disarray. Dresser drawers were pulled out, couch cushions were thrown on the floor, according to her, or according to police. But how did you find no forced entry? Maybe she was faking it? Is that what they're saying? I don't know. So during an investigation, it was discovered that Devine continued to meet up with Overstreet for relations. He claimed that he was only doing so in order to save her life because otherwise she would take her life. Yes, please have relations with me or I'm going to take my own life. Your body means that much to me. Come on. So weird. These cops just aren't even good. Like they're supposed to be good at investigating crimes. They can't even cover up their own in Norfolk County. It's crazy. All right, so in August of 2015, Robert Devine is featured in this magazine, whatever that is, the FBI Lita Insider magazine. In 2015, his salary was $125,000 per year. Can you believe that? This guy. He is having extra marital affairs with women, and this is before Sandra Birchmore, so they don't really know what all he's doing in his Explorers program. In 2015, an internal affairs investigation was ordered by the Chief McNamara, to look into Devine's actions, not just Devine, but also the Farwell brothers and some other characters. There's Josh Heel, who is an animal control officer and then a school resource officer. And then Josh Heel was the school resource officer. That wasn't 2 people, that was one. And then there's another individual that is unnamed who was a military recruiter who may have had some sort of relations with Sandra in exchange for getting her into boot camp or something. I don't know. All right, I don't know if that's necessarily true, but it could be possible because it is also possible that Josh Heel, the animal control officer, was using his power and authority over her to, but she confided in Josh, so he was a little bit different, but they did have some relations too. But her and Josh, she confided in him a lot about the Farwell brothers and Matt Devine, or I'm sorry, Robert Devine, but he still took advantage of her in some ways. All right, so Stoughton Chief Paul Shastani stated that adjustments have been made to the role of 42-year-old Devine, who admitted to state police that he had been involved in a several-month-long affair with Tiffany Overstreet, 30, from Easton, which ultimately turned sour. At that time, Devine served as the deputy or second in command in Stoughton and acts as the chief when Shastani is absent. The matter has led Shastani to take on some of Devine's work and prompted at least one police expert to question whether Devine would stay in this position. But Shastani stood by the chief deputy, or deputy chief, saying that Devine is the victim in this case and terming the situation a personal matter. Are you kidding me? Devine's the victim? Really? Ay, ay, ay. All right. So Devine was demoted by town manager Michael Hartman, who announced his decision in a brief press release. Devine reached an agreement with Hartman to return to the lowest rank within the department. So he went all the way, he went from a deputy chief, which is like almost what, like the second in command? Or not, yeah, deputy chief, that's like the second in command, right? So Um, he went from that to a patrolman. Due to this decision in the case by Michael Hartman was one of the reasons Chief Shastani announced that he planned to retire in April 2016. So then the chief retires after they find that Devine's got some shady business going on. So he believed that the town manager has left him out of many department decisions. The police Chief Shastani pushed for divine determination after he said that he took a long look at the documents and reports related to the case, but Shastani said he found out an agreement was reached an hour and 25 minutes before an executive session. A custodian hand-delivered Shastani a letter written by Hartman announcing his decision. A statement by town manager Hartman concerning the retirement of Chief Shastani. I wish to correct some of the misinformation that has appeared in recent news accounts concerning the police chief's resignation. The decision to resolve the situation involving former Deputy Chief Devine by allowing him to return to duty as a patrol officer following a lengthy unpaid suspension was a difficult one and not one that I arrived at without considering all the different, all the different points of view. It's hard to talk. Talking's hard, reading's hard. To the extent that it has suggested that the decision was made without any input from the police chief is completely false. Prior to any decision being made, I held a meeting in my office with the chief and town council during which the various possible options were discussed. While the chief made very aware at the meeting what his preferred option was, I made clear to the chief that depending on what civil service rights former Deputy Chief Devine still retained, there was a possibility that he may eventually be returned to duty. So the town manager is saying, okay, Deputy Shastani is saying, I don't want this guy on my force anymore. He's trouble. And the chief or the town manager is like, you know what? You don't have a say because he's got rights. What? Why why are we fighting to keep these people on in power in positions of power? As the process unfolded, the chief had conversations with myself and town council, which he was updated on where things stood prior to any final agreement having been made. While the chief continued to express his disagreement with approach I was taking, he was made aware of what was happening at the time. For anyone to suggest otherwise is simply not providing the full story. The decision I made was one that I believe to be the best interest of the town of Stoughton. Okay, so let me rewind a little bit. So Devine gets himself into a little bit of trouble with this Tiffany Overstreet lady. It gets out there with everybody because she texts these nude photos of herself to everyone that the chief works with and their wives. So now he's under this investigation, but we don't really exactly know what came of that or, why is he being demoted for an extramarital affair? It makes you wonder. It makes you wonder because it's not illegal to have an affair, which it should be, but it's not. And wh- you know, why are they putting him back all the way down to patrolman to for whatever reason? They're keeping us in the dark about that reason, but they're claiming it to be um that he had this extramarital affair, which I find to be not very authentic. I think they're being disingenuous here. So the decision I made was one that I believe will be in the best interest of the town. While the chief expressed his disagreement with me, he also communicated as recently as 2 weeks ago that he would work with Officer Devine following his return and continue to ensure that the Stoughton Police Department continues to operate at the high level it has under Chief Shastani's leadership. It is fortunate and disappointing that he has since decided to resign his position instead. So he wants Chief Devine gone. Town manager says, nope, I'm going to keep him. And then Chief Shastani says, bye, I'm out of here because you didn't listen to me. This is crazy. This is February 16th, 2016. Um, so while I would have preferred that he stayed the chief and decided not to do so, as town manager, I am responsible for making tough decisions and not everyone will agree with, including department heads. When making those decisions, I have to weigh the facts that a particular decision will have on the town as a whole and not just the given department. Yeah, and you should have gotten rid of Divine when you had the chance because it affects the whole entire department when you keep on bad cops. Where was I? Although it would sometimes be easier to simply go along with what others would like to see happen, I would not be fulfilling my duties and responsibilities as Stoughton town manager if I did not consider all of the legal, economic, and other relevant factors in making my decisions. Ultimately, I must choose the one that I believe in my professional opinion is best for the town of Stoughton. How is it best for the town of Stoughton to put a crooked cop back on the streets? To do more, spread more of his crookedness and corruption. In this case, based on all of the relevant facts and circumstances, the decision I made was what I believe to be in the best interest of the town of Stoughton, which is ultimately the job that I was hired to do. That was February 16th, 2016. Yikes. So I'm going to stop there. Um, because we kind of went a little slightly out of order just reading that. So that gave us kind of like the time frame here. So I was going to read a couple different articles that I found regarding Robert Devine and then we're going to read the police reports regarding this Overstreet issue, whatever this is. Why is Robert Devine being demoted for having an extramarital affair? What does that mean? All right, so this article from the Enterprise titled Stoughton Deputy Police Chief Linked to an Relationship Scandal. I don't want to say that word. So we say relations or intimacy or whatever. All right, so Stoughton. The duties of Stoughton Deputy Police Chief Robert Devine have been altered. This was like right after it came out. So this is January 2015. So that's why I said we were kind of going out of order. But so we're going back to this scandal with Tiffany Overstreet. So the duties for Stoughton Deputy Police Chief Robert Devine have been altered after an extramarital affair resulted in graphic photos of him and his alleged mistress being sent to the police. the arrest of an Easton woman, and an ongoing state police investigation, court records show. So, this Overstreet, what is her name? Tiffany Overstreet is from Easton. So she's arrested for violating a harassment order that Robert has on her. And but again, why graphic photos of him and his mistress sent to the police? How's that illegal? Why does that get him demoted? I don't know. So Stoughton Chief Paul Shostani said Tuesday that modifications have been made regarding the role of the 42-year-old, so at that time he's 42, Devine, who told state police he had a months-long affair with Tiffany Overstreet, 30, of Easton that went sour, according to court records. Devine is second in command in Stoughton and acting chief when Shostani is away. So he was second in command, like I said. And he went from that to a patrolman, like the low end of the totem pole. Not that patrolmen are, not important, but why did, that's a big leap from management to now you're doing the rough stuff again. Overstreet was arrested December 18th by state police and charged with 3 counts of violating harassment prevention orders taken out against her by Devine and his wife in October. Overstreet was arraigned in Stoughton District Court and released on personal recognizance. The case has been transferred to Dedham District Court. The matter has led Shastani to take on some of Devine's work. So, because he left as chief or deputy chief, um, the workload for the chief got greater and prompted at least one police expert to question whether Devine should stay in the position. But Shastani stood by the deputy chief, saying that Devine is, quote, the victim in this case and terming the situation a, quote, personal matter. He is ensured due process. Yes, I agree. All of these crooked cops still have a due process. That's why we have Proctor, who got suspended with pay, and then Proctor got suspended without pay, and now we're waiting for him to get fired. It just takes a while with the unions and everything, and they can't just fire them willy-nilly. And that's the problem too, is that when you have a problematic officer and it's difficult to fire your officers, that's a problem. When you have a difficult officer that is more of a liability than helpful for you, you might want to be able to get rid of them easier. Just my opinion, but whatever. All right, so he is ensured due process. He is a victim, and when the case finds its way to court, the truth and all the information that is circulating will come out. And what will happen is there will be an assessment, like everything. We'll assess as we move downstream. Devine emerged as a leader in the department in the wake of an FBI corruption probe. How ironic. So Devine emerged as a leader in the department in the wake of an FBI corruption probe that resulted in the convictions of several Stoughton officers. The probe ended in 2010. Devine had also been the department's spokesman and has worked as an instructor in the FBI's Law Enforcement Executive Development Association program. Shastani said that Devine, who made 122, now it's 122, before it was 125,000 in 2014, will step back from his spokesman duties with the investigation, which has involved the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office. This matter is being handled appropriately and transparently and will be handled accordingly to what the public expects from us, Shastani said. There are modifications to his responsibility, but no leave because he has done nothing wrong. Then why change his responsibility if he's done nothing wrong? Think they're covering for something? I do. I think there was more to this Tiffany Overstreet than we know. More to these allegations that the media and law enforcement aren't telling us. So, court documents obtained by the enterprise this week detailed a clandestine relationship between Devine and Overstreet that started in the fall of 2013 and eventually reached both his family and the department. By summer 2014, Devine wanted to end their relationship and began receiving harassing and threatening messages that he told investigators to. Devine contacted state police in November after an email containing graphic photos of him and Overstreet was sent to his police coworkers and their spouses, the police report states. Devine's wife is a police officer in a different community. So Overstreet did that knowing full well it would get to her, I'm sure. That's really crappy. Women that sleep with married men and then try to rub it in their wives' faces, that's pretty crappy. Devine told state police that he continued to contact Overstreet even while the harassment prevention orders were in place, and that he did initiate some of the contact, including meeting for dinner at one point. Trooper Sean Cork wrote in his December 18th report. We're going to read that. Overstreet told police that during this time, she and Devine continued to have a physical relationship, according to the report. The meetings, according to the report, came after Overstreet had threatened to commit um, life-ending side of oneself. If so, she threatened to end her own life if Devine abandoned her. Court records show that a week, but that doesn't mean sleep with her. Like he said, I was only sleeping with her because otherwise she was going to leave and end her own life. Court records show that a week before her arrest on December 11th, Devine and his wife requested the court immediately rescind the harassment prevention orders against Overstreet. Again, what? So, this is what makes it really shady. Again, you've got this harassment prevention order, an HPO or whatever they call it there, um, to stop this Overstreet, this Tiffany Overstreet, from harassing you and your wife. And then suddenly you say to the court immediately, I want to rescind my harassment prevention order against that person. What? So strange. So tell me again that Robert Devine didn't do anything wrong? Does Tiffany Overstreet have something over him that, like, some kind of blackmail? Like, this is so weird. In light of the revelations, an expert in law enforcement questioned Devine's ongoing role as a department leader. So again, what does that like how? Why? Why was his role as a leader questioned for having an affair? Think about it. Something else was going on and they're just not telling us. As a high ranking member, you have to set the high example for all of the other officers in there, especially in light of your department still coming out of a major corruption scandal. So that's part of the problem, too, is that Massachusetts is known for its governmental corruption and government overreach and abuse of power. And this is not an isolated incident. And he's saying you really should have handled yourself better in light of the fact that there have been scandals in our department. So, dude, what's going on? So that was Joseph Gianclone, I don't know, a retired NYPD sergeant commander and adjunct professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York. He should save himself and the department the embarrassment and just resign. That's probably what he should have done, but he didn't. Another expert in police affairs doesn't think the situation warrants a resignation. He's done nothing wrong. He's a victim of crime, says Mitch Liberatt, a criminal justice professor at Bridgewater State University. Oh, Bridgewater, that's where Colin Albert went to school. And then he, that's where the feds also served him his subpoena to go sit in a grand jury. He got served at college. And he got so sad and scared, and he felt so harassed when all this stuff, all the press was going on because of that. He had to drop out of college, and it's all Turtle Boy's fault, probably. Anyways, sorry, Bridgewater. This guy is a criminal justice professor at Bridgewater State and a former New York police officer. He continues, does it reveal the salacious detail of a marital infidelity? Evidently, it does. So if that's all there is, like, why did they demote him? I don't get it. The ability for Devine to continue in his position will depend on several factors, Liebert said. If he's a competent individual and he's an effective commander, it may take some time, but he may be able to continue in his position. It's going to depend on several factors: the political culture of the town, the relationship he has with the police chief, and the details of what transpired. When reached Monday, Devine declined to elaborate on the situation involving Overstreet, the harassment prevention orders, and her arrest. It's a private matter. I'm a victim, Devine said before declining further comment. How much of a victim do you think he is? Do you think he might be part of it? Do you think maybe he led this woman on and I don't know, she's got some info on him? That's what I think. She might have some incriminating info on him. Overstreet and her court-appointed attorney, Christopher Peruzzi, could not be reached for comment. Messages left at her workplace Wednesday were not returned, and there was no answer at her Easton apartment Wednesday. Overstreet works as a property manager for Keith Properties, Inc. No idea if she's still there or not, which oversees the Canton Village and the West Stoughton Village apartment complexes. These towns are so inbred. Like everybody knows everybody. When reached Tuesday, Stoughton Selectman David Spanky Souza said that he was unaware of the matter, but said that he would look into it. Who calls their selectman Spanky? Maybe if your nickname is Spanky, you probably shouldn't be a selectman in any town. That sounds crazy. I mean, it doesn't mean sense. The position he's in, it just doesn't make sense. I definitely want to find out more about this, Sousa said. Stoughton's other selectmen were unavailable or declined to comment on the matter. So a lot of the people on the select board apparently had a problem with it, um, potentially. The state police report details the alleged circumstances that led to Overstreet's arrest last month. They include Devine and his wife each taking out harassment prevention orders against Overstreet on October 3rd. Roughly 2 weeks later, on October 20th, flowers were delivered to Devine's wife at her home with an insulting message attached. Devine told state police that he wanted to end the relationship with Overstreet as he and his wife decided to reconcile their marriage. Overstreet wished to continue a relationship with him and made threats to commit self-deletion if he abandoned her. In November, Devine's family and friends received emails containing pictures of him and Overstreet that were in an intimate nature, Devine said in court records. Devine said graphic photos of him and Overstreet were also emailed to his police coworkers and their spouses. The police report states state police began tracing the emails. On December 18th, State and Easton police executed a search warrant at Overstreet's home to search for and seize computer systems and other storage media at the home and arrested her, the report states. 5 days after her arrest, Overstreet reported a break-in at her Easton apartment, to which Easton police responded. They found no sign of forced entry, according to police, but her apartment was in disarray. Dresser drawers pulled out, couch cushions thrown on the floor. No arrests were made. Overstreet is due back in court for some pretrial hearing. That was years ago. So that was back in 2015, 14, 15. I think 15. Yeah, January 2015. So, and as you already know, he was reinstated. So this is the article basically saying that he was reinstated after this investigation took place. which I still don't understand. Why was he being investigated for an affair and then demoted for it? Because they did the investigating and they found something because he got demoted. Former Deputy Chief Robert Devine has been returned to active duty as the rank of police patrolman. This is when he comes back. This is February 12th, 2016. So about a month later, they say, oh no, this is a year later, sorry. About a year and a month later, he's back. Town manager Michael Hartman ended months of uncertainty swirling around Devine and his status with the police department by making his decision known in a press release Friday afternoon. Hartman's release also said that Devine, 43, will serve a lengthy period of unpaid suspension before his reinstatement takes effect. Controversy became almost exactly The controversy became public, almost exactly 1 year ago in mid-January of 2015, triggering a state police investigation and the appointment of a special prosecutor by Norfolk County. They love their special prosecutors, and it percolated for months. After town officials received a report from an internal affairs investigation, Devine was then placed on paid leave July 10th by Police Chief Paul Shastani. While town officials refused to discuss the content of the reports, court documents previously obtained by the enterprise show that Devine told state police he had a months-long affair with an Easton woman that went sour. After the affair ended, graphic photos of them were sent to police. Devine and his wife took out a harassment prevention order. The charges were later dismissed after the Devines decided to withdraw the orders. That's what's so weird about it. Selectmen had previously said that Hartman had the sole authority to decide what happened to Devine, and in his release, Hartman said that as this was a personal matter, he would be making no further comments. Devine made a total of $125,000 in 2015, and that was an increase from the previous year. So, all right. We are caught up now with kind of the story and how everything progressed and Devine getting back into his role, but just as a patrolman. But then did he still oversee the Explorers program? That's something I'd like to know. I could not find that. I don't know when he stopped. I know the program is no longer going, but it continued even after he was not running it for a little while. All right, so that's the background that I wanted you guys to have on Robert Devine. So now let's take a look at this police report. And so this report, it's actually a 19-page report, but it's like every time he makes an entry. So this was December 3rd, 2014. He goes up to 11 items on his list. And then December 17th, he does it again. He just repeats everything. And he goes up to 19 items this time. So we're going to be reading, it's the same document. So we're not reading the whole thing. It's an 11, we're on page 11 starting. So don't get confused that we're not starting at the beginning. Anyways, that was probably more confusing than anything. All right, so sorry. So this is the police report regarding Robert and Lisa Devine and their harassment order and whatnot. You know what? I'm gonna read that second. Let's read this one first. So this is the final report that Detective Lieutenant Kevin Shea, or I'm sorry, this is to Detective Lieutenant Kevin Shea. Trooper Sean Quirk is the one that wrote all these reports. Um, so this is in the matter of the arrest for Tiffany Overstreet. On Wednesday, November 12th, 2014, I, Trooper Sean J. Quirk, was assigned to investigate an alleged violation of a criminal harassment prevention order. 2 harassment orders were granted on October 3rd, 2014 by the Norfolk Superior Court against Tiffany Overstreet. The plaintiff of harassment prevention order, redacted, is Robert Devine, and the plaintiff of harassment order number redacted is Lisa Devine. The orders had an original expiration date of October 9th, 2014, but were extended through October 23rd, 2014. A further extension was granted until November 4th, which was moved until November 14th. On November 14th, all parties agreed to extensions until January 15th, 2015. So all parties agreed to an extension. Number 2. On October 20th, 2014, flowers were delivered to Lisa Devine at her residence. The message that accompanied the flowers is redacted, but it was stated that it was very rude or insulting. All right, number 3. An administrative subpoena submitted to FDT.com issued by the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office revealed that the order was placed by Redacted. Robert Devine advised that Redacted is a friend of Overstreet. Robert Devine reported the incident to the Stoughton police, where Robert Devine is the deputy chief. Officer Sandra Barrett took the report, and Chief Paul Shastani was made aware of the situation. So, shady stuff going on long before Sandra Birchmore stuff. Let me make this bigger for you guys and for me. I'm blind. All right, number 4. On Saturday, November 15th, 2014, I spoke with Robert Devine. He reported that the harassment order was sought because of ongoing harassment from Overstreet. He stated since the order was granted, he has been receiving phone calls on his personal cell phone and emails from unknown numbers at all times of the day and night. Some of the calls and messages were reported to be threatening in nature. Robert Devine advised that he searched the phone numbers and email addresses on the internet and found that most come back to the website called bandwidth.com. Robert Devine provided me with a copy of the response he received from bandwidth.com's legal division. Bandwidth.com advised that the numbers he requested were provided to a wholesale customer, Enflick Inc., and therefore legal service will need to be sent to that company. Enflick Inc. provides a free application called Text Now, which allows a person to disguise their true number or their email address. So, phone number, the calls that he's getting come from this bandwidth.com. So, whoever's calling him and emailing him, they are disguising and encrypting whatever their phone numbers and email addresses. Number 5. One message sent on November 16th, 2014 came from Redacted, and a search of this email address showed that it came from Pinger Inc. Pinger Inc. is also a website that allows a person to disguise or change their email address. The message that David received a screenshot of two parties texting each other. It appeared that one of the parties sent the message from the above-mentioned address to Devine. Due to the anonymity of the third party and the potential violation of the harassment order, the Norfolk District Attorney's Office issued an administrative subpoena to Pinger Inc. Number 6. Robert Devine also stated that the password for his Comcast account had been changed on 11/15/14, but he had not requested a change. This is weird. This whole part is weird. He stated that his inbox folder, sent folder, and contacts were all deleted. Oh, imagine that. All of my contacts and communications have been deleted, and somebody must have changed my password, but it wasn't me. They deleted everything I own. So you can't go back and look and see what other illegal acts or nefarious acts I've done. Oops, sorry about it. Seriously. These criminals are not very smart. He stated that his inbox folder and search contacts were all deleted. He said he found two deleted emails in the trash bin of his account. He then changed the username of his account. He further stated that there have been previous attempts to gain access to their accounts. Robert Devine's Comcast accounts, Robert Devine's Yahoo's account, and Lisa's Pinterest account. Robert Devine stated that no one else had his passwords. I asked Robert Devine if Overstreet attempted to access his accounts, would she know the answers to his security questions, and he stated, yes, probably. Like, how the hell would she know? They're usually like random questions like, name the school bus driver that took you to school in the first grade. Like, weird random stuff. Like, how the heck would she know his security passwords? Number 7, on Sunday, November 16th, 2014, Robert Devine contacted me to inform me that he received a message indicating that an email from his Comcast account failed to be delivered. He stated he had not tried to send a message. When he accessed his account, he found the returned message. He said it appeared to be from his account and was addressed to his cell phone number. The call came from the house. What? The error message showed an internet protocol address ending in 15 that uses AT&T as a service provider. Robert Devine stated he uses Verizon as his internet service provider. There is an indication on the return receipt that the message may have come from textum.net. A copy of the returned message is attached. On November 25th, 2014, the Norfolk District Attorney's Office submitted an administrative subpoena to AT&T. He also informed me that the previous night he received more texts from unknown numbers. So bizarre. On Monday, November 17th, 2014, at approximately 700 hours, I went to Stoughton PD and met with Robert Devine. He stated that in the fall of 2013, he and his wife Lisa were considering separating. No, that was bothering me. Okay. Around the time he became involved with Overstreet and things progressed into a more serious relationship. He advised that Overstreet's attitude toward him changed. She turned threatening and abusive, probably because you said you weren't going to leave your wife, and you might have been saying that before, or whatever you were saying to get her into bed. All right, Robert Devine stated that as the summer of 2014 approached, he and his wife decided to reconcile their marriage and he wanted to end the relationship he had with Overstreet. He stated Overstreet wished to continue a relationship with him and did not want him to go back to his wife. She made threats to commit self deletion if he abandoned her. From that time until the issuance of the order, there have been numerous instances of harassing text messages, some of which were threatening, and phone calls from unknown numbers. Number 9, on Thursday, November 20th, 2014, Robert Devine contacted me to inform me that his Google account password had been changed without his knowledge. He was able to provide a screenshot of the messages. He was getting Google verification codes to change his password there. Number 11. He also informed me that some of the family and friends received an email containing pictures of Overstreet and himself from the email account. Oh, they forgot to redact that. Oh well, it's jparks8889@gmail.com. I bet it's no longer in service. Anyways, so on November 25th, 2014, an administrative subpoena went to Google, who owns Gmail. So they are subpoenaing? They are sending subpoenas to the individuals, the companies where they can figure out more information about this digital forensics to find out who's responsible for these harassing text messages and whatnot. You know, they actually got subpoenas and are doing an investigation here, whereas the police involved in the John O'Keefe investigation didn't do real investigating. So it's kind of sad that they put more into this, whatever this is. I don't even know. It seems like Tiffany's the aggressor, but I have a feeling she's not, or there's more to it. I really do. Because why did they just immediately rescind their order for harassment protection? Makes sense to me. All right, so 13. He stated the email address and Twitter handle are not known to him. On November 21st, I sent Twitter a preservation order for the preservation of the content. The page has been removed. All right. On Wednesday, November 25th, 2014, Robert Devine contacted me and informed me that an email containing more pictures of he and Overstreet was sent to coworkers and their spouses. He stated that some of the pictures were graphic and they came from Overstreet's email account that was allegedly accessed by an unknown individual. Devine informed me that Overstreet had reported this to him when they were still in a relationship. He provided me with a screen capture of the images which I have viewed. The email was reported to come from Redacted and Redacted. On December 2nd, Robert Devine contacted me regarding information he received from Comcast, his internet service provider. Comcast provided him with his account access logs and associated IP addresses from September 26th through November 15th that shows numerous bad password statuses which could indicate that someone tried to access his account. Some of the attempts were successful, which could indicate that someone actually accessed his account. Robert Devine also received the same data for the second account, which he changed to after he believed the first account was accessed in November. Devine said that he felt he needed to change his account because of security issues. On December 2nd, the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office issued administrative subpoenas to Comcast and WDSPC as they are the service providers of the IP addresses that may have attempted access to the account. Number 16. On Thursday, December 4th, 2014, Pinger Inc. responded to the administrative subpoena. Pinger customer support representative Chris Denault provided account information for the username redacted. The name on the account was redacted. This account was created on November 16th, 2014, and was only used on that day. There was no further activity on the account. He provided the IP address ending in 118 for the computer that was used to create the account. A check of the IP address revealed that it belonged to Comcast. An administrative subpoena was issued to Comcast. Number 17, on Monday, December 8th, 2014, WDSPC responded to the administrative subpoena issued on December 2nd. The email from that place help desk from their help desk stated that they do not have any end user information because they lease IP addresses to several wireless data companies. They inform us that the end user information that may exist would be provided by AT&T Wireless, so they sought a subpoena for AT&T Wireless. Number 18, on Monday, December 8th, Comcast Legal Response Center responded to the administrative subpoena. Correspondence revealed that the subscriber for the IP address was ending in 118, referenced above, on November 16th. And that was at Tiffany Overstreet at her address. Robert Devine believed there had been previous attempts to access his Comcast email accounts, redacted and redacted, because he had received notifications from Comcast stating his password had been changed. He stated these notifications were not the result of him changing the password. Robert Devine provided me with an email account access log, which he had provided or received from Comcast for both of his email accounts. The logs were from 9:26 at 12:17 a.m. through 11:15 at 8:51 p.m. for the first account and 11:15 8:55 p.m. through 11:16 at 9:55 p.m. for the newer account. The logs showed time, date, IP address, email account, username, and authorization status, whether success or bad password. The IP address ends in the 118, which came back to Overstreet, was recorded by Comcast as making 4 successful attempts accessing Robert Devine's email account. Those attempts were recorded. So she made successful attempts. How did she do that? She got into his email somehow. figured out his password or something. Number 24. And those are the dates and times where she actually did make like she actually did access his account and was in his files and emails and things. Although I still don't believe that she deleted everything. I think he did. I think there was other things in there that he didn't want law enforcement to see, and I think he might have had other things going on that might not have even been related to this case, but because he was being looked at for this case, they found maybe something on him regarding Sandra Birchmore or some other people from the Explorers program, potentially other victims. Who knows? There could be several other victims out there, and it would help if they would speak up. Not that, coming out as a victim is difficult, but um, it can help prevent other people going through what you went through. So if you are a victim, it is best to come forward. It's difficult and it takes strength and it takes courage to embrace your truth. It might even take a while to say, hey, I'm a survivor, and, change your narrative and make it about yourself. But you got to embrace your story and talk about it. It's the only way we can get past our problems. All right. So at this time, Robert Devine changed his email address to redacted. According to Robert Devine's Comcast account access log, a person using the IP address ending in 177 made 3 successful attempts between 5:54 and 8:55 p.m. into his new account. So he goes to another account because the one is hacked. So now she finds the new account and is able to get into, or at least attempts to get into that one. Robert Devine provided me with a printout of an email that was sent from his new account at 8:54 p.m. He stated he did not send it. The Norfolk District Attorney's Office issued a subpoena that for Comcast for that IP address. Number 25, there have also been numerous instances during the time period in the account access log where a series of IP addresses tried to access Devine's accounts. A series of IP addresses ranged from a whole bunch, and I'm not going to read those numbers. After a conversation with Lieutenant David McSweeney, he informed me that the series of IP addresses may indicate that the user was in a public place or at a business and the IP addresses were randomly assigned. The Norfolk District Attorney's Office issued a subpoena to Comcast. Number 26, on Wednesday, December 17th, I sought and received a search warrant from the Stoughton Police District Court to search for and seize computers and other storage media from, I'm assuming that is Overstreet's address. On Thursday, December 18th, at approximately 700 hours, myself, David McSweeney, Dennis Doherty, the lieutenant, the sergeant, Trooper Sheila Carney, and officers from the Easton Police Department executed the search warrant at redacted, even though it says it right here. Anyways, after several attempts at knocking at the door, Tiffany Overstreet did answer the door. We identified ourselves as police officers, and Overstreet was advised that we had a search warrant. Officers entered peacefully. Overstreet was given Miranda warnings by Lieutenant McSweeney and told that we were there as part of an investigation into Overstreet allegedly violating a harassment protection order taken out by Robert and Lisa Devine. Overstreet stated that Robert just called her last night and has told her that he went to court to withdraw the HPO. She said that he told her he loved her in that conversation. She said they have communicated back and forth with one another via phone and email over the past several weeks because he told her that he withdrew the order. Overstreet then said that she did not want to talk to the officers anymore. She was advised that she was being placed under arrest for the HPO violation. She was transported by an Easton PD marked cruiser. How is she being arrested for an HPO violation if the person who has the HPO order out on them is contacting them? Not necessarily saying that what she's saying is true and that he was contacting her, but if that's true, how can you just arrest someone not knowing whether the HPO was even broken and violated by the other person? Once that other person violates it, it's like it becomes nil and void. The judge says, "Here, I want you two to keep your distance." And if the person who's requesting it decides, "I'm going to go and visit that person," the judge will never know. And if she does find out, she's going to take away that HPO because you're obviously not afraid of them if you're going and visiting with them secretly. All right, so she was transported by an Easton officer or by Easton PD marked cruiser to the Easton PD for booking and to await later transport to Stoughton District Court. Number 28. During the execution of the search warrant, after Overstreet was arrested and en route to the police department, Lieutenant McSweeney called Robert Devine to advise him of the arrest and search warrant execution. Lieutenant McSweeney explained to Robert that subpoenas had revealed that communications related to the ongoing harassment had come from Tiffany Overstreet's internet service at redacted. According to Lieutenant McSweeney, Devine said that he was floored that the activity was traced back to Overstreet. He said he felt bamboozled, and he thought that Overstreet was not the source of the harassment, but instead that someone was setting her up. He thought that eventually records would reveal some other aspect and that Overstreet would be seen as a victim as well. Interesting. So this person's been harassing you. You have an order of protection against them, and here you are saying you don't think it's them. Some other suspect. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. So he admitted that he had been having contact with Overstreet over the past several weeks while the HPO was in effect, and that he did initiate some of the contact, including meeting for dinner at one point to discuss the related incidents. He again said that that he continued to communicate with Overstreet because he felt that she was not the source of the harassment. Lieutenant McSweeney said that he reminded Robert that he took out the HPO against Overstreet and that he, Robert, was initiating much of the communication between him and Overstreet. And then why are you arresting Overstreet? If he's communicating with her, then that HPO is null and void. Robert repeated that Overstreet had fooled him and bamboozled him. What if anybody is bamboozling or fooling anybody, it's you fooling Tiffany. Probably telling her you're going to leave your wife for her, and you never do. Number 29. During the search warrant, some digital communications located on a cell phone identified by Overstreet as belonging to her were viewed. One message was from the username redacted. This username is associated with some of the harassing anonymous communications related to the investigation. Officers completed the search warrant execution, seizing several computer devices and cellular phones. All seized items will be returned to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office pending further analysis. Number 30. On December 18, 2014, at approximately 900 hours while at the Easton Police Department, Overstreet initiated contact with officers and stated that she would like to speak with officers. After going over Miranda warnings again, Sergeant Doherty and I spoke with Overstreet. The interview was video and audio recorded. The entire interview has been memorialized on a DVD. The following came from our conversation with Overstreet. Number 31. During the interview, Overstreet admitted that she continued to have a physical relationship with Robert since the harassment order was issued. She stated they continuously text and email each other. She stated that Robert is usually the one who initiates the contact. She denied any knowledge of spoofing, creating accounts on spoofing websites, sending emails, texts, etc. from the same. Signed, Trooper Sean J. Quirk. How weird. So you have this order of protection against someone, and then all of a sudden you're like, no, 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 she didn't do it, or she fooled me and bamboozled me, and there's no way she could have done it. Does anybody know, or have you thought at all about the possible reality that maybe Divine was harassing himself at some point, or making it look like she was harassing him? But then that doesn't necessarily explain the all the attempts to change the emails, unless I don't know. I really don't know if he has a way of knowing how to somehow set up forensic evidence on your digital um, devices. I don't know. Can it be manipulated? So, anyways, that is, yeah, she's stating that he initiates the contact, which is just wild to me that he has a order out on her and he's the one doing all the talking to her. Anyways, it just makes you wonder. And then he dropped it immediately. So I don't know. There's definitely something more going on there and that we weren't privy to in the things that we've read so far. So I don't know. What do you guys think is going on? Definitely something shady. Finally, I'm going to read this last report. This is another report from Trooper Quirk. This was from March 19th. So the other one was like a whole, chronological order of things. And this we're going backwards because it's written in its own separate report, but he goes and he does an interview. Um, so I just want to read this part here. So this was a meeting with Robert and Lisa Devine. Sergeant Quirk is writing, okay, so on Wednesday, March 11th, at 2015 at 1600 hours, Lieutenant David McSweeney, Attorney Kevin Mullen, and I, Trooper Sean J. Quirk, met at Attorney Timothy Burke's office in Needham. The purpose of the meeting was to meet with Robert and Lisa Devine regarding their intentions going forward on the open case against Tiffany Overstreet. Number two, with Attorney Burke present, we met with Robert Devine and Lisa Devine separately. They both stated that they no longer wanted to go forward with the case against Tiffany Overstreet and wanted to move forward with their lives. I showed the Devines pictures that were located on one of Overstreet's phones. These photos caused concern because one was taken at their daughter's school and others were Devine family pictures. Again, weird. Robert stated, I mean, it's very, very, very possible that this woman was stalking him and doing some sort of harassment. I'm not saying that she hasn't, but I still think that there's more to this story that we do not know because I, I don't buy Devine's explanations as to his stuff being deleted all of a sudden and all these password changes and whatnot. I don't know. I don't buy his story. Plus, I already don't find him credible because I know he's a lying sack of you know what because he's denied affairs, or not affairs, but he's denied grooming and SAing Sandra Birchmore, which there's been evidence that he has. All right, so these photos caused concern because one was taken at their daughter's school, the other one in the Devine family pictures. Robert stated that the photo from school was taken by his wife. Lisa confirmed same. I asked if they were concerned the pictures were on her phone. They both thought her having them on her phone was creepy, but were not concerned otherwise. Really? Some reason is making you drop the orders. Because no sane person is going to let someone out there have pictures of their kids on their phone in a creepy way like that. No. Something else is up with Robert Devine. What do you guys think it is? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for being here. That's all I have for you regarding Divine right now. In the next episode, we're going to do a little bit more of a deep dive into the Explorers program and the kind of what's really going on in the Explorers programs, the nationwide epidemic of grooming and SA going on in these Explorers programs. It's just unfathomable. So we're going to look into that, and then we'll get into the civil suit with Sandra Birchmore's family. So stick with me. We still have a little ways to go. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye now.